Welcome everybody, nice to see you. This evening I was having the idea to work with our quads. So our quadriceps is the full term, are the big muscles on the front of the thigh, and very tight on most of us, especially if you're very active, but also potentially a little bit weak if you're not very active. So we'll again always find this balance between strengthening and lengthening. And we'll also do a little bit with the shoulders, because there's quite a few postures where we work with stretching the quads that involve a bind, kind of holding. I'm not saying we're going to get there, but you need quite open shoulders for those. So we'll perhaps explore some of those bound quad opening postures. So something that might be handy today is a strap, especially if you've got a proper yoga strap with a loop in it. If we can manage with whatever you've got, like a scarf or a belt or anything, but just have it handy. Okay, so let's just start on our backs today. Are you ready? Just come down. And just bend the knees, just the feet on the floor, about hip distance apart. And just take a moment to settle. If you prefer to start in full Shavasana legs, that's fine too. We're just going to take about a minute just to fully arrive. So just give your body to the floor here. Just allow the floor to take the weight of your body for a moment. Notice if there's resistance to that, if it's a bit tricky to surrender, relinquish the body's efforts at this point in the class, which is very normal, and notice that. Usually when we do Shavasana at the end, it's much more easy to let go and become heavy because we've done a lot of work and we're in a much calmer headspace. So just kind of do the best you can here, just relaxing the skin of the back, relaxing the bones of the spine and the pelvis, the sacrum into the floor, and the shoulder blades and the back of the head. And just feel, if your feet are on the floor, just feel the contact between the soles of your feet and the floor. Just really shrink your awareness to that space for a moment. So the points of contact between your back and the floor, and your hands and the floor, and your arms and the floor, and the back of your head and the floor. And just become aware of your breath as you lie here, just deepening the breath, breathing through the nose if you can. And just consider for a moment, I'm not expecting you to have any particular answer, but just consider your relationship with your quads. So how connected are you to this part of your body? Do you use your quads a lot in your life for walking, running, cycling, going to the gym, for quite an active life? Or do you not use them so much? Perhaps a lot of sitting, kind of tuning into this part of your body. And then we're just going to begin to move with some very gentle leg work. So just have your heels, if your legs are in Shavasana, bring them up to bent knee position, feet into the buttocks. And we're just going to do some little bridge pulses. So this both strengthens and lengthens the quads. Welcome, Gabby. So when you're ready, just with the breath, we're going to inhale, lift the pelvis, and exhale, lower. Just do that 10 times. Inhale up, exhale down. Just kind of keeping tuned in to your quads working here. So Gabby, we're working with the quads and the shoulders today, the front of the thighs, strengthening and lengthening the legs, muscles, opening the shoulders. This, I've lost count, probably about 6 or so. This ridge position, when we're in the high point, also starts to open the shoulders. You might feel that. So hopefully when you've done about 10 pulses, you're feeling some kind of sense of effort. Just keep going even if you've done 10, just a tiny bit longer if you can, stop if you need. But hopefully you're feeling, we want to go long enough that we feel a kind of warmth in the legs. And of course you're going to feel this in the lower back of the buttocks as well, but we're looking for that feeling of warmth in the thighs. Okay, that's probably, I've definitely got warmth in my thighs. Just slowly lowering the sacrum back down. And take a moment there. And then we'll just do a little bit of opening while we're here. Just stretch your left leg out, draw your right knee into the chest. and circle the right ankle. If you need to keep the left leg bent, then do. And just circle that ankle the other way. And swap sides. Take the right leg forward, draw the left knee in, hug it into the chest, circle the ankle, and we're extending out through the right leg. If you're flexing the right foot on the floor, then you're contracting the quad muscle. Maybe you can feel that, trying to activate the front of the right thigh on the floor if it's extended. Great, and then just bring the right knee up to join the left knee, just hug both knees in towards the chest for a moment. Doesn't need to be a deep stretch, you don't need to pull the knees in, just kind of let gravity allow them to move towards the chest, and breathe into the lower back here. We're going to do a lot of kind of more back bending shapes today, because that's how we stretch the front of the thigh. So just enjoy these moments of the opposite, rounding and flexing the spine the other way, breathe into that. And then when you're ready, we're going to come to our hands and knees. So you can just rock up or come to one side and push yourself up. So just in a mindful way, slowly make your way to tabletop. So we've got hips over knees, shoulders over wrists, more or less. Hands can be forward if that's better for your wrists. And then just start to mobilize the spine. We'll just start with normal cat-cows, inhaling into the cow, lifting tailbone, dropping belly, looking up, and exhaling into the cat. Tailbone draws under, chin to the chest, really stretch and open the upper back. Just moving with the breath. Beautiful. And at the end of your next exhale, just return to neutral. We're going to add the legs. So this time as you inhale, we're going to extend the right leg out and slightly up. So we do get a little bit of extension on the front of the thigh, and then exhale, knee to nose underneath you. Just do this 5 times on the right. So it's a back bend, still cat-cowing the spine, but we're just adding some leg movement here. And as you inhale and stretch back, really focus on extension. A little bit of height, but more extension, like you're trying to touch something behind you with your toe that's just out of reach. And after 5 or so, release the right knee down. Again, just feeling that warmth in the thigh. And go to the other side. Inhale, left leg lifts, looking up. Exhale, nose to knee underneath you. Inhale, extend. Exhale, flex the spine the other way, chin to knee, or nose to knee. More or less 5 times. I think I'm on number 5, so make this one your last, or do 5 if you're counting. And just for a moment, again, enjoy that rounded back shape. Just drop the hips onto the heels for a moment, rest the forehead on the floor, just take a few breaths in child's pose. Breathing into the back. And then come up to tabletop. Inhale, tabletop. Exhale, take the chin and the chest down, hips stay high. Inhale, stretch the legs out behind you and come to a back bend, shoulders back, chest forward, and take an extra breath here. Using the shoulder muscles, back muscles. Exhale, lower down. Press yourself back up to tabletop. And then from tabletop, just step the right foot forward between the hands and sink the hips forward. So your right knee can be in front of the ankle or above, that's fine. And then just stay here on the fingertips. We're going to revisit this shape, but we're just gradually opening up into this. So we're drawing the shoulders back, looking forward, just taking a couple of breaths and feel how this is starting to stretch on the front of that left quad and hip. Great, and then slide the right knee back, left leg forward, left foot forward, come into the same shape on the other side. Again, just for now, just keep your fingertips on the floor. We'll have plenty of opportunity to go deeper into the shape. Breathe into the right quad, right hip. And then plant the hands, tuck the back toe under, and step back to downward dog, or come to hands and knees and bring yourself from there into downward dog. So just find your way into your downward dog shape. Taking a couple of breaths here to really open the back of the body, relaxing the back of the neck, And see if you can contract the quads, the quadriceps in this posture. So if the knees are quite bent, it's more tricky. But if the legs are more or less straight, we can draw up on the kneecaps, and that's going to engage the front thighs. And see if you can engage the portion of the quads that's right up near the hip creases. So it's trickier to engage the upper thigh muscles, but it's possible. And then at the end of your next exhale, step forward and just take bring the feet together and take a bend into the knees. So remember, we're strengthening and lengthening. So keep the knees bent, bring the torso up, and just come for a few breaths in Utkatasana, the chair posture. Just reaching up through the fingertips. You can bring the hands forward if that's better for you, but focus on the knees bent, thigh work here. One more breath. And then slowly inhale, straighten the legs, stretch the arms up, and exhale, bring the hands to the side. Just change the angle. Okay, so coming to stand at the front of the mat, we're going to do some sun salutations. Hang on, I knew there was something different. I'm going to spotlight myself, so bear with me a moment. Yes. Okay. So I'll do sun salutations with that shape that we just came to, the crescent moon shape. Okay, so standing at the front of the mat. Inhale, raise the hands, and maybe take the fingertips back slightly to get a slight front opener, and exhale, forward fold. Inhale, look up and lengthen the spine and step the right foot back. And as you exhale, bring the right knee down. So here we are again with the left leg forward. This time, bring the hands up onto the thighs. We're just going to do it in stages. And just press the knee away with the arms, maybe even coming to straight arms. So now we're going to get more into this quad stretch on the right side. Take a couple of breaths here. And then exhale, release the hands, tuck the back toe under. And then your choice, downward dog or child's pose, or take the vinyasa if you wish, exhaling to lower down. The benefit of the vinyasa is we get an inhale, upward dog or back bend, which stretches the front of the thighs and hips. Coming back to downward dog or stay in child's pose, and just take 2 or 3 breaths here. Again, see if you can firm the thighs, the front of the thighs, contract the quads. Have quite a focus in this area of the body today. And then at the end of your exhale, bring the right leg forward, the right foot between the hands. So come onto your knees to bring it forward if you need. And again, just climb the hands onto the thigh here. We're pressing the knee, kind of away, or the thigh, the top of the thigh away from us. So maybe if the back is open enough, the arms become straight and it turns into quite a back bend. But don't force. Try to keep the hips totally square to the front. Great, and then exhale, release the hands down. Inhale to step the left foot to the right and look up and lengthen the spine. Exhale, drop the head to the shins. Inhale, press through the hands, reach and stretch. Maybe again, fingertips back, hips forward. Exhale, hands to the side. So we're just going to do that again and build it up gradually. Inhale, hands up. Maybe a back bend. Exhale, hinge forward. Inhale, look up and lengthen, and then this time we start with taking the left foot back and bring the left knee down. So we've got right knee forward first this time. And you can do any of the other options, fingertips on the floor, hands on the thighs, or full posture, we take the hands up and look up to the fingertips, or look forward. Draw the tailbone under, feel strength in the legs, press actively through the right foot, squeeze the inner thighs towards each other. Exhale, release the hands down, tuck the back toe under, and again, your choice, downward dog, child's pose, or moving through the plank, exhaling, lowering down. Inhale, stretch the front thighs and hips as you back bend, and exhale, downward dog. So you're welcome to stay in child's pose here, but otherwise in the downward dog again. Contract the front thighs, draw up on the kneecaps if that's available to you. Breathe deep. And then at the end of your next exhale, look forward and step the left foot between the hands. Bring the right knee down. Inhale, raising the hands. For Anjaneyasana this time. Again, stay grounded in the legs and the feet. Exhale, release the hands, tuck the toe under. Inhale, step the right foot to join the left and look up. Exhale, lower the head to the shin. Raise the hands as you inhale, look up and lengthen. And exhale, hands to the side. And 2 more rounds. Inhale, take the hands up. Exhale, forward fold, drop the head. Inhale, look up and lengthen. And as you exhale, step the right foot back and lower the right knee. So again, we're going to inhale up to full Anjaneyasana, unless you prefer to take some of the other options, and just see if it's possible to turn this into a little back bend, even if it's just a centimetre. We take the fingertips a tiny bit further behind us and try and follow the fingertips with the gaze, lifting and extending through the spine, lifting the space behind the heart. Great, and then exhale, bring the hands down, tuck the back toe under, vinyasa if you wish, or child's pose or downward dog, moving with the breath if you're vinyasing, and really enjoy that inhale, draw the shoulders back, exhale into downward dog. Find the contraction of the front thighs in downward dog, take a breath, or 2. And at the end of your exhale, step the right foot between the hands, release the left knee to the floor. Inhale again, take a variation or all the way up into Anjaneyasana, and then focus on extension. Really extend up through the fingertips as you possibly take the fingertips back a tiny bit or more. As deep as is right for you, but try not to collapse in the lumbar spine. Follow the fingers with the gaze if possible, and keep extending up through the fingertips. Exhale to release the hands down, tuck the back toe under. Inhale, left foot joins right and look up. Exhale, forward fold into the shins. Inhale, raise the hands above the head, reach and stretch, slight back bend, fingertips back, hips forward, and exhale, hands to the side. Okay, we've got one more, this kind of variation. Inhale, take the hands up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, look up and lengthen. Exhale, left foot back first this time, bringing the left knee down. And then this variation, we're going to take the left hand underneath the shoulder and reach the right arm back. So reach the right hand back. So we're in a bit of a twist here. And if you want to work more with the quad, and it's possible, you can bend the left knee and see if you can find the top of the left foot with the right hand. And then for today's theme, you're going to squeeze the heel towards the buttock. Try not to lift the hips. Make that contact, try to keep the hips where they are and draw the heel towards the buttock. If you haven't got the foot, just keep extending the right arm back. You're still getting a quad stretch. Okay, one more breath. Release the foot if you have the foot. Bring the left foot back down. And again, your choice, vinyasa or downward dog or child's pose. Moving with the breath if you're vinyasa-ing. Coming to downward dog with strong thighs. And then when you're ready, at the end of your next exhale, step the left foot forward, release the right knee down. Right hand is more or less underneath the right shoulder. I forgot to say on the other side, but if you are very open, you can bring the elbow down, forearm parallel to the front of the mat. Reach the left hand back, so we're in a twist and we're still getting that nice opening on the front quad. If you want to deepen that stretch, bend the right knee, find the top of the foot with the left hand, and then draw the heel towards the buttock. This is totally optional. Try not to lift the hips. Pretty intense. One more breath. Breathe into the intensity. Release the foot if you have the foot, plant the hand down. As you inhale, tuck the back toe under and step the right foot to join the left and look up. Exhale, forward fold. Press through the feet. Inhale, raise the hands. Look up, slight back bend, and exhale, Tadasana. So just pause for a moment in Tadasana. And again, we're just going to come back to that strength aspect for a moment. So we're going to keep moving between the two. So once again, coming to Utkatasana. So your feet are together, bend the knees, drop the hips, and just take the hands as high up as is available for your shoulders, and then extend up through the fingertips. See if you can draw the tailbone under, connect to the core, and just sink as low as you can here. And we're going to take a twist, bring the palms together and exhale, bring the right elbow to the outside of the left thigh, or if that's not available, the right hand, the outside of the left thigh, and the left hand reaches back, okay? So if it's the elbow, the palms are together and you're looking over the shoulder, you're pressing the hand or elbow into the outer thigh and resisting with the outer thigh. One more breath. And then try not to move the legs as you inhale back to Utkatasana and exhale the other way. Feeling that burning feeling on the thighs now. Left elbow or hand presses right outer thigh. Turn to look over your right shoulder. Keep sinking those hips. One more deep breath. And then see if you can inhale back, Utkatasana. Exhale, straighten the legs. Release the hands to the sides. Ooh, feeling that energy in the thighs there. Okay, so we're just going to return to stretching again. So from here, just keep the right leg forward and step the left back, step the left foot back, and come onto the toe of the left foot with the heel raised. And bring the hands to the hips and just sink into those hips. So we're in the high lunge. Really activate the back leg, drawing the heel behind you. And again, make sure the hips are facing forward. And then just inhale, lift the arms up. So we're getting a really long stretch up this whole left side. And just for a moment to move more into the psoas, but it's all connected to the quads somehow. So use your right hand on your left wrist and inhale, stretch up, and exhale, pull the left wrist over to the right. And you'll feel a whole big stretchy feeling around the left hip, but also into the left thigh, where the psoas connects to the inner thigh, close to the quadriceps. So freeing up this whole quad thigh area. Inhale back to the center. See, this might not be possible for you, but see if from here we can just lower the left knee to the floor. And oh, here we are again, back in the crescent moon. Okay, so you can just stay with the crescent moon. You can do any of the variations we've done. There's one more invitation here. You could repeat the quad stretch twist. But for those that want to try and for whom it's available, it's quite a strong twist. This time, we bend the left knee and we take hold of it with the left hand. So same foot, same hand. And again, we squeeze it towards the buttocks. And if any of you is able to do that, spinning of the fingers forward and elbow lifting, this is something we're going to return to later in the class, to bend the elbows high. Then that's an option. Otherwise, you just pull with the hand. And the front hand's on the thigh, or maybe extended forward, maybe even a mudra. Try to turn the hips to face the front. This is a very strong thigh stretch. Otherwise, any other variation. Okay, and then release. Take the hands down and just step back to downward dog or tabletop. Sorry, downward dog or tabletop. So we're just going to swap sides. So when you're ready, step the left foot between the hands, and we're loading up to the high lunge first. So we're on the toe of the back foot. Left knee is above the ankle or behind, and we're reaching the fingertips up. Breathing, fully strong, active back leg. Use the left hand to pull up on the right wrist as you inhale, and as you exhale, just pull the right wrist over to the left, keeping the chest nice and open to the front, keeping active in the back leg. Deep breath. Inhale back to the center. And again, if you can, from here, without the hands, just lower the right knee down. If you need to just use the hands and come down in your own way, that's fine. And again, here we are in Anjaneyasana. Take any variation you wish, but we've already done all. Rest the left arm on the left thigh, bend the right knee, take the right hand back, and squeeze the heel into the buttock, possibly with the fingertips pointing forward and the elbow high if available. Square the hips to the front. Breathe into the intensity of the stretch on the front of the thigh, wherever you're at with this. And then release. Take the hands down, tuck the toe under, and take either child's pose or downward dog just for a moment. And then when you're ready, at the end of your exhale, look forward, walk, step, or jump the feet to the hands. Inhale to look up. Exhale, forward fold. Rest through the feet. Inhale, raise the hands, hips forward, fingertips back. Exhale, hands to the side. Good. Okay, so hopefully, I meant to say this at the start, it's going to be really helpful if you've got a bit of wall space. If anybody doesn't have a bit of wall space, it only needs to be as wide as you are. Just let me know and I'll think of an alternative. A window will work, but as long as it's safe, as long as you're not going to kind of smash through it. Okay, so I think nobody's saying that you haven't, so let's go for it.
I don't have walls.
You don't, Gabby. Okay, Gabby, so for you, you're going to do what we're going to do next. So you're going to do the standing quad stretch, which we're all going to do in a moment. So we're stretching the quad, yeah? Right, and then when we swap sides, you swap legs. Yeah, so you're just bringing foot to heel and drawing the heel to the buttock, trying to keep the knees in line. And you just get an extra go at that. For those who've got some wall space, you're going to come to the wall and you're just down on your knees. Your feet are more or less touching the wall behind you. And then it's a bit awkward. You slide one knee back. So my right knee's gone back and my shin is extended up the wall. It's not very easy to see, is it? Let me see if I can get myself out of the way. So my knee is touching, the front of my knee is touching the wall. My shin is, and the top of my foot's going up the wall. And then from here, we try to step the left foot forward. So we're in like as if we were a sprinter in the blocks about to run a race. Got the fingertips on the floor, either side of the front foot. This might already be a mega thigh stretch for you. And you might need to take that left leg forward, left foot forward. But if you're feeling okay, you start to climb like we were doing in the crescent lunge climb, to bring the hands onto the knee. And if possible, your right heel is just outside your right buttock. So you're not, you can be on it, but if you're quite open, you might come to where your buttocks are all the way on the floor and then you don't want your heel in the way. So it's kind of to the outside of your hip. Okay, so either fingertips on the floor, hands on the knee, or if you're feeling really comfortable here, extend the hands up the wall. Breathe into that thigh stretch. Anybody's unsure, let me know. Pretty intense. So you might need to lean forward if it's too intense. A couple more breaths if you can, full deep breaths. Great, one more. And then to come out of this side, it's not really that easy to come out, except I tend to bring my left foot back to the wall, bring my left knee down, and then my right knee down. That's how I come out. Okay, so just come out as gracefully as you can here. And let's see how the other side is. Okay, so again, I'm on both knees, both toes are kind of touching the wall, and then I just slide my left knee back till the front of my knee and the shin's kind of traveling up the wall. And then from there, pressing through the hands, see, and I know if you tighten the hips, that in itself is quite tricky to try and bring the right foot forward between the hands, but just do the best you can here. And if you're very tight, you might need to bring the hips forward and lean forward. But if you are more open or just explore how far you can go with this, bring the hands onto the thigh. Maybe you want to bring the foot a bit closer in as well. So the foot wants to be either below the knee or in front of the knee, not behind. And then just see if you're very open. Again, if you're very open, your heel needs to be outside of the hip so that you can eventually get to the place where you can bring your buttocks and your back against the wall and extend up through your hands. Optional. Go as far as you want. When you get to your limit, just take some deep breaths here. Knowing that when we breathe into that intensity, there's big releasing going on. We don't often come into these intense quadriceps stretches, and that's what the body's expressing to you right now. It's like, what is this? But you know, it means there's probably a lot of stuff stuck there that wants to move, so breathe it through. And then at the end of your next breath or next couple of breaths, when you're ready to come out, bring the fingertips down. So you press through the fingertips to bring the right knee down, then you bring the left knee down again, and we're back to kneeling. And when you're ready, just kind of stand yourself up. And time check, we're good for time. So now, Gabby, you've had practice already. I'm going to do this again. This is the first time we might want to use a strap. We're going to just put this kind of work that we've been doing into the thighs into one of our first kind of peak postures, Natarajasana, which is a bound posture. I'm aware the light's not great this evening. I'll get curtains for next week. So we're going to work with a strap. So if you've got a yoga strap, just have a little loop in the end. If you haven't got a yoga strap, you can still do it. Just use a belt. It's just a little bit more, it's not as easy. The hardest thing with this posture is getting into it. So whether you've got the loop, we're going to put the loop around your foot. It gets a bit easier with the loop. And the reason it's hard is it gets hard when basically the strap needs to be taut. If it's just like not taut, then the foot's going to slip out of the loop. So we have to just find that way where the leg is heavy. We'll go to the right side first. So the right leg is heavy, just resting all the weight into the strap, and the strap is kind of tight. And then it's not going to slip out. Okay, so as I say, we're opening the shoulders a little bit today as well. So we're going to bring the right elbow up, so the right hand is pointing down. And if the leg is heavy and the strap is taut, the foot won't fall out. And then bring the left hand up and hold the strap as well. So you've got both elbows pointing up towards the ceiling. If this is enough, hopefully your right knee is next to your left knee, then you can just stay here, it's a balance. But the next stage is to start walking the hands a little bit further down towards the foot as you start to press the foot into the strap. So the strap's always taut. If it gets slack, the foot will fall out. And you just play with that. How far can you walk your hands down the strap? And then how much can you push the foot back? Eventually in this posture, the hands of the foot meet. Probably not today, unless you're very bendy. And yes, it's balance. So if you wobble, just come out and come back in. Have a wall handy if you need. So just play with that. If you don't have the loop, it's exactly the same. Your foot's just resting in your strap. Take a couple more breaths. It's a strong front body opener and quad opener, especially if the leg is working. And then to come out, just come out the way you went in, come to vertical, let the strap get longer, and then release the foot. If anybody struggled with that or needs, that, because we can do it the normal way without the strap just holding the foot, but we don't get that elbow lifted opener. But if that's too much for your shoulders, you can do the normal way where we just take the hand back, hold the top of the foot, and then push the foot into the hand. The benefit of using the strap is it's much easier to square the chest and the hips to the front rather than twist. Okay, so when you're ready, come to the other side. So again, for me, the hardest bit is just getting into this. Find the top of the foot in the base of the strap, in the loop, or just in the strap, and just let the leg be heavy, let the foot be heavy, and then just find that tautness in the strap. So start vertical, make sure the knees are together, and then there's a little bit, it's like a balancing act, a push and pull kind of thing. We start to walk the hands maybe down the strap a little bit, but at the same time, we're pushing the foot into the strap, and we're pulling the strap up with the hands to always keep the strap taut. So we've got a very strong shoulder chest opener, and if we're very active in the legs, we're also getting that quad opener. So just play around with it, making sure the foot is always pushing back. And then after a few breaths, come out the way you went in, come back to vertical and release. So, as I say, I can't do, especially not at the moment because I slightly injured my back, but eventually this would be the bound posture, which is a very, you can imagine, very strong quad and shoulder opening. So that's kind of what we're playing with today. Okay, so from here, we're going to come down onto our belly and just explore this in some different shapes. So if you want to just lie down on your belly, that's fine. But if you want to flow down again, then we'll come to the front of the mat and just enjoy both feet on the floor for a moment, re-ground, just let the heart rate come down. And then when you're ready, we're going to inhale, stretch up, fingertips back, hips forward, exhale, forward fold. Inhale, look up and lengthen. Exhale, just step back to plank or tabletop, so knees on or off the floor. And then we'll come down via Ashtangasana again. So bring the knees down and inhale. And as you exhale, lower the chin and the chest, elbows in. And inhale, just come to that cobra. So we stretch the legs back. We have the hands under the shoulders. We draw the shoulders back. So we're using the back muscles to keep the chest lifted here. Neck is long. Slightly pressing down through the tops of the feet to keep the legs active, but relax the buttocks. One more breath. And then exhale, just lower down. And just take a moment here. You can rest the head on the hands or turn a cheek to the side. Just take a moment to kind of settle into the prone position. So we're going to be here for a few different postures. Okay, so we'll just start with the Sphinx, just kind of warming us into this shape gently, and also so that you know that this is your go-to place, because everything's an invitation. This is a mixed ability class, and you listen to your body. And, you know, we've all got different bodies, and the advanced yoga is the yoga where you're listening to your body and stopping at the point that's right for you. You know, I'm not interested in whatever bendy pretzel shapes you're making. I'm interested in you listening to your body and not injuring yourself. Okay, remembering the primary tenets of yoga, ahimsa, non-harming. Okay, that is advanced yoga, when we integrate all the limbs, including the wisdom of the ethical code. Okay, so this is the kind of place to come to if things get a bit crazy for you. And even if this is too much, elbows further forward, or of course, just take rest, which is hugely beneficial in its own way. But for here, with the elbows under the shoulders or slightly in front, we're getting this gentle tractioning and opening of the front body. It's not so much of a quad stretch yet, but you'll feel it in the hips and the belly. Draw the shoulders back. And then just feel, this might not be appropriate if you've got back issues, but just bend the knees here and see if you start to feel it in the quads as well. If you feel you have more capacity here, you could turn the hands out and lift up. This is quite a strong compression in the back with the knees bent, so if you need to release the knees, do. Release the feet, then do. Let's take a couple of breaths, and again, for those that want more, we're coming towards the posture where you, again, another strong posture where the feet and the head eventually touch. I think I've only managed it once or twice in my yoga journey, and again, it doesn't matter. It's the journey is what it's all about. And then slowly lower the front spine down, take the forehead onto the back of the hands, wobble the hips if you need. So we're just going to focus on the thighs now. So we're going to move towards Bakasana, the frog. We'll start with half frog, and that will probably be as far as most people get. So for the half frog, we come up onto the elbows and we just pivot the right arm first. So your right elbow is underneath your shoulder, or maybe slightly in front of your right shoulder. And again, we're going to bend the left knee and bring the heel towards the buttock. So this could be as far as you get. This is also a place where you might want a strap. Actually, I don't know whether a strap works for this one. I don't think a strap's, it could work. We're pulling down. I'm doing it with a strap and it's kind of working, but you just need to be really careful that you keep the alignment, that you keep the heel in line with the knee. If you can reach the foot, then you don't need the strap. We're going to hold the top of the foot and just watch my hand here. At the moment, my fingers are wrapped around my little toe, and that's probably where most of us are going to be. And you're pulling, you're using your arm muscles to pull towards the outside of the buttock. But if it's possible, we lift the elbow at the same time as spinning the hands forward. This is one of the hardest things to instruct and explain, I've found in yoga, this action. But it's like that. So and it requires an open shoulder. Okay, so that's why I mean it's not going to be for everyone. Most of us will probably be just pulling. It just means we have to use our arms more. This is much more mechanically easy because you just press down. You don't have to pull. You don't have to use your arm muscles as much. Okay, so we're pressing the top of the foot towards the outer hip. If you've got knee issues, this might not be for you. So listen to your body. Remember, you've got sphinx that we did before to keep coming back to. This is the half frog. If this is super easy for you, you might want to turn your right hand forward and press through the hand to lift the chest a little bit more. But the emphasis is trying to square the chest to the front. Don't worry if that left knee's come out to the left, that's fine. Heel to the outside of the hip, okay? And then slowly release, come down. This is a big quad opener. Just rest for a moment. And then come to the other side. So come up onto the left elbow, which is underneath or slightly in front of the left shoulder. Bend the right knee. I mean, you could just stay here as well without the bind, just kind of using your hamstring muscles to draw the heel in towards the buttock is a good quad opener as well. Otherwise, we take the right hand back, find the top of the foot, pull from there, listening to your knee, heel to the outside of the hip, or again, kind of like unscrewing a jar, kind of corkscrewy action to bring the fingertips forward, elbow high, and push down. And again, if it's very accessible for you, then you might want to take the hand forward and press through to lift yourself up. Square the chest to the front. Breathe into the quad stretch. I love this posture for how it releases my quad and everything that's associated to that, the lower back, the hip complex. But, you know, really listen to your body, especially when we're doing stuff with the knees, the joints. Release, come down, take a rest. Those of you not doing these options because of any reason, knees, back, you've got the Sphinx, but you could also be working with the Cobra and also with Shalabhasana, the Locust. Okay, so just more accessible back work for those that with whom this isn't accessible. So I understand it's not for everyone. Okay, so we're now possibly going to do full Bakasana, or you could just do half Bakasana again, or just take rest, okay? This is a really tricky posture. It's only for those who feel super comfortable in half Bakasana. As you can imagine, you bend both legs, but this time we haven't got the support at the front, so we have to use our back muscles, so it's much, much harder. We take both hands back. Again, if you can do the elbows high turning thing, it's much easier. Then you press down and you have to use your back muscles to lift the chest, so it's super challenging, and if you can't do the corkscrew things, it's even more challenging if the elbows aren't high. So this isn't for everyone, but it's just there if you want to explore. And then slowly lower down, take rest for the moment. Okay, so we're going to now do half bow, moving up to bow, and then we'll come out of all of this stuff for those of you who are not enjoying this. Again, this is one where a strap can be handy. So it's pretty similar. We'll start again, propping up on the right forearm, but this time it's the same grip really, or you take the front of the ankle, but instead of pulling down, you're doing what we did in Natarajasana, you're pushing the foot into the hand, and that's going to draw the shoulder back. Again, trying to square the chest to the front. And again, if you're more open, you might take the hand forward and come up a bit higher. It works well with a strap if you can't make the contact of hand to foot. Then again, if you've got a loop, or just kind of take a strap around the front, and then you can kind of do that we did in Natarajasana. Okay, so just have a go at half bow, Dhanurasana, for a few breaths, squaring the chest to the front, strong active leg. And release and come down, take a moment. Wobble the hips if you need. And then come to the other side when you're ready. So left elbow slightly in front of the shoulder, forearm parallel to the front of the mat. Bend the right knee, take hold of the front of the right ankle, and then it's like we're lifting the knee up and we're pushing the foot, the top of the foot or the front of that ankle into the hands. That's going to draw your right shoulder back. Keep the chest square to the front. The right knee will probably splay out to the right a little bit, but try to keep it more or less tracking alongside the hip. Try not to let it come too far wide. And then exhale lower. Take a moment. So if that was enough, you could practice that again. You could just stay here, take some yummy rest, which can be very beneficial after all this. We'll take a proper counter pose shortly, or full Dhanurasana. So you're going for full Dhanurasana again, bending the heels in towards the buttocks, taking both hands back to the front of the ankles, and then both at the same time we press the ankles into the hands, which draws both shoulders back. It's much easier to square the chest to the front this time. Keep the legs working hard, breathe into the front chest. Try to keep the knees in line with the hips if possible, and the big toes maybe touching or feet towards each other. So we try not to get too wide with the legs. Breathe as fully as you can. If rocking comes into the posture naturally, just let it happen. And then when you're ready to come down, slowly release. And just take some rest, release the legs, relax the lower back. And breathe here. Strong opening for the shoulders and the thighs and the hips. Couple, 2 or 3 more really slow, deep breaths here. Okay. Just nice and slow. When you're ready, just bring the hands underneath the chest. Slowly bring yourself up to tabletop. Just take care of that lower back. It's had a lot of compression, so maybe just breathe in the neutral spine for a moment in tabletop. Just find the neutral curves of the spine. Take some full breaths, and then when you're ready, just sink the hips back onto the heels and keep the fingertips stretching forward, and just breathe into the lower back here. Find space in the lower back with the breath. Okay, and then when you're ready, take longer if you need, but just walk the hands back towards the knees and bring yourself up to kneeling. I'm going to bring the hips to the side and bring the legs out in front. And we'll just stay with the forward folding counter pose for a moment. So we're going to take a seated forward fold Paschimottanasana. Start with Dandasana. So it's like downward dog but seated. So fingertips by the hips. And flex the feet, toes up to the ceiling. And again, like in downward dog, see if you can find this contraction of the quadriceps, the front thighs, all the way up to the upper portion of the thigh. This is often neglected, but it is possible to contract all the way up here. So just explore that for a moment in your thighs. If you have to keep the legs bent, then you can't get full contraction of the front thighs so easily, or you just can't, but just do the best you can here. And then try to keep the legs switched on as you inhale, stretch up, and exhale, come into your forward fold. So if you need to bend the knees, that's fine. If you want to work more with the thoracic opening like we worked on last week, and stay more straight back, chest forward, or if you're wanting to just come into a passive, deep spinal flexion forward here, then just drop the head, round the back, and breathe into the whole back spine. More breaths. And then at the end of your next exhale, bring yourself up to seated again. And we're going to go back into Paschimottanasana, which is another front body opener. So we bring the hands behind us, fingertips pointing forward. If you know that for you, it's better to modify by bending the knees and coming to the tabletop, it's still a thigh opener to some extent. Okay, so bend the knees if that's right for you. Otherwise, legs straight. Draw the shoulders forward, lean into the hands and lift the hips, and then really work to try and internally rotate the legs and press the big toes down. When we're lifting those hips high, if it feels okay, drop the head all the way back or keep the chin in if you need, but try to internally rotate the legs as much as you can. Breathe deep, one more breath. And then at the end of the exhale, slowly lower down using your hands as brakes to come down. Okay, and then we're going to come into Janu Shirshasana, but I'm going to give you the option for those who can to do a bound half lotus. So this is only for those who have half lotus because we haven't really particularly prepped for it. But it's kind of a bit similar to what we've been doing because it's eventually bound, so we've got the right foot in half lotus and the right hand behind to find the foot, and we can work with a strap. You can bring again this looped strap around the foot. The loop has shrunk, weird. And then you can reach your right hand back and hold the strap, okay, and over time work the hand closer until one day you meet the toes. Okay, so that's there for those that want to play with that, just because we've got this kind of foot hand bound shape. Otherwise, your sole of your right foot's in the inner left thigh, and we're just in Janu Shirshasana. Okay, if you're bound, you take your left hand forward, maybe it reaches the left toe, maybe it's the shin, and you really check in with your knee, and you might just prefer to stay upright. Only if it feels okay in the knee do you start to fold forward into the half bound version of this. Otherwise, with Janu Shirshasana, we're inhaling, stretching up, exhaling, coming forward. Okay, just taking some deep breaths here. Again, enjoy the forward fold. Counter to what we've been doing. Try to contract that left thigh, extended leg. And then at the end of your next exhale, slowly coming up. And release the bind if you have the bind, and we'll go to the other side. So again, if you're half lotusing, only if it's super comfortable, make sure that left knee joint is fully sealed as you bring the foot onto the top of the thigh, and find the bind with or without a strap. And then listen to the knee. So you inhale, lengthen, exhale, forward fold. Probably most of us, Janu Shirshasana. Sole of the left foot, inner right thigh. Inhale, extend up. Exhale, fold forward. And take some slow, deep breaths here. If you're doing the half bound, it's another really good shoulder opener as well. These bound postures are often great shoulder openers. Just focus on the breath, deepening the breath. And then at the end of your next exhale, just coming up and release. And we're going to come into Malasana squat. So just find your way from here into Malasana squat. Is this position where the feet are probably about mat distance apart, the toes pointing out to the side. Some of us, the heels need to stay off the floor. And we're just going to explore this position. For some of us with the knees are a problem, we might need to bring the hips higher and just rest the elbows. It means we have to work harder in the thighs, but that's, you're just getting more strengthening than everyone else. So, but I just want you to feel where is your comfortable position here. If it's here, just know that, and if it's down here, know that. Okay, because we're going to explore the strength in our quads in a moment, but we're just kind of pause here, maybe bringing the palms together. Just take a moment in Malasana squat. Feeling that lengthening of the lower back as the pelvis descends, lifting up through the spine, having a sense of lifting the chest, opening the chest. If you need to keep the fingertips on the floor, that's fine too, if the heels are lifted. Okay, now from here, see if you can power up the legs. We're going to try and come to stand, okay? So you might need to use your arms in some different way, but see if we can just press through the legs, use the strength in your legs to come up to stand. And we're just going to do some Malasana squats. So this is something I discovered recently. So you want to keep your feet in about the same position, and we're just going to, let's say 10 times, maybe it'll be more, like last time I said 10, we did about 20. Let's see how we go. Again, we want to go as long as possible to feel that lovely, I'm going to call it a lovely heat in the legs, okay? It's good to feel that heat in the legs, we need it. So what we're going to do, I like to use the arms. As you inhale, you take the arms up and come into, so maybe it's to here, maybe it's all the way down. And as you exhale, this is the killer, we bring the arms down, come all the way down. Inhale down, exhale, use the legs, come up. Inhale down, exhale, come up. Okay, that was 3, 4. Go as low as is right for you. 5, 6, 7, 8, I'm feeling it. 9, stop if you need, by the way, 10. I'm going to go 15. If you want to stop at 10, stop. And if your knees hurt, don't go as low down. I think this is 13, 14, 15. Okay, so hopefully we feel a bit of heat in the legs. You can do this in all kinds of different ways, and it's really good for just bringing energy into the legs and the hips and keeping strength. So again, I'm going to use that heat and bring it into more stretching again. So from here, notice your heart rate's probably up, mine is. We're going to come just down to our hands and knees. Just let that settle for a moment, catch my breath. Okay, so we're going to come into the pigeon, but we're going to do pigeon with a quad twist for those of us. Everything's an invitation. If you know pigeon's not for you, do the usual variation, thread the needle on your back. Okay, so otherwise from here you can come in from tabletop, or if you want to just come up to downward dog for a moment, do so. But we're going to bring the right knee behind the right wrist, the shin across the body, and tuck the back toe under and slide the back hip back. If you're doing thread the needle, your outer right ankle is on the front of your left thigh. So line on your back. If you need to pad your outer right hips here, do. So usually in this posture we go forward, and we will just go forward for a minute. Let's just take a moment here in more like the reclined pigeon. Just maybe don't go, we're not going to linger here so much. We're going to work more with the upright position today. So we've got this quad focus. If you just take that moment to get that outer right hip stretch, coming into the reclined position for a few slow deep breaths. Supporting the head on the floor, and the hands on the block. And then from here, we're going to come back up. So depending on your back, if your lower back is tight, you might need to have the hands further forward. And maybe you just want to stay in the reclined position. It means you won't get such a quad stretch, but you'll get the outer right hip stretch. Those of us who can, we're going to walk the hands back potentially in line with the hips, or even maybe behind for some of us, or as I say, maybe forward. So just come to what feels like your kind of limit here, and then wherever you get to, draw the shoulders back, squeeze the shoulder blades together and down the spine, and open and lift the chest. So pigeon is moving towards a posture called Rajakapotasana, which is a deep, deep back bend, and it's another one of these bound foot and hand things. Okay, so again, we can work with the strap. So you could just stay here. You're feeling that stretch on the hip and the thigh. If you can, maybe bend the left leg and reach the left hand back to the foot. We've done this before, holding the little toe edge and squeezing it to the outside of the hip. We did this in the crescent lunge, trying to square the chest to the forward. Again, maybe we can spin the hand and lift the elbow, and then we can be a little bit more efficient with that. This isn't going to be for everyone. And then you can release, and then there's a posture called mermaid. So this is the halfway house to Rajakapotasana. If you need to come out, just come out. But if you can, you bring the top of the foot into the crook of the left elbow, and you bring the left forearm up with the palm facing forward. And then we can do it if we feel stable. If we're going to just topple, then keep your right hand there and just work here, trying to square the chest forward. Those of us who can, reach the right hand up, drop the fingertips down. Maybe you find the fingertip hook and we square the chest to the forward and we breathe into this. This is halfway house to Ekapada Rajakapotasana. Okay. I know lots of you aren't with me, so just stay with, come out when you need. And then I don't know if there's anyone here that is the full posture is, I haven't done it for ages actually, but you need to be able to have that very open shoulder. It's a beautiful posture. And that's where we're going. So if that's in your practice, have a go. Otherwise, coming out, and we're going to slowly come out. Wherever we got to, maybe we just did the recline pigeon and had a really long recline pigeon. That's a beautiful thing too. And just come to the tabletop. Maybe you feel like you need to extend the leg that was bent, the right leg. Maybe you need a downward dog. Maybe you need a child's pose. Just kind of intuitively feel what you need to kind of integrate that side. If you're doing thread the needle on your back, then obviously a lot of these variations aren't going to be relevant. So you're just going to take a really long thread the needle. Okay, from downward dog or tabletop, bring your left knee behind your left wrist, shin across the body, tuck the right toe under, slide the right hip back. Okay, pad the left hip if you need. So again, we'll just start with that reclined version. So we just take the hands forward, support the head. So we're focusing more on this outer left hip stretch when we come forward. We're still getting that when we're upright, but when we're upright, we also get this deep hip quad opener on the other side and this deep back bend. I'm just taking a few slow, deep releasing breaths here. So you can understand that with this kind of suite of postures, the bound back bend postures, hand to foot, requires very open shoulders as well as very open quads and flexible spines. So, you know, they are pretty intense postures. So we just enjoy the journey of opening. It doesn't matter if we ever get to do it in this life or not, but we enjoy the journey of opening. Okay, so when you're ready, slowly coming out of the recline, and start to walk the hands back and just listen to your body, listen to your lower back, listen to your front of your right hip and thigh, and maybe you need to take the hands forward quite far, maybe you want to stay in recline pigeon, but just explore, try and come up as far as is okay for your back. It may be coming all the way up so the fingertips are in line with the spine or maybe even behind, but once we get to our chosen position, we focus on drawing the shoulders back, opening and lifting the chest. And you could just stay here for 5 to 10 breaths and then come out, or we go into this exploration of the bind. So you're probably going to be leaning into your left hand as you bend the right knee. You have to kind of lean to the left a little bit to find the foot hold. And I'm probably not going to do it so much on this side because of my hip, but you're pressing. So I'll do it again on the other side here, pressing the heel to the outside of the buttock. Maybe spinning and lifting out. But if you can't have the flexibility to do this in the shoulder, then you're definitely not going to be able to go to the next stage. Okay, so stay here, come out if you need, or mermaid, slide the top of the foot into the crook of the elbow and raise the forearm, fingertips, palm forward. Only if you keep the right hand there and just stay here, or if you feel stable, lift, square the chest to the front into mermaid. Big opener, and then possibly, if it's in your practice, Ekapada Rajakapotasana.
Becky?
Yes?
In which leg are we supposed to feel the stretch when we do the pigeon?
Well, obviously there's an outer stretch, well, it's this side, there's an outer hip stretch going on in the front leg. Come out if you need, those people who are in the posture whilst I'm talking. So the front leg's getting an outer hip stretch, but when we start to move with these variations, you probably will be feeling it in the front of the right hip and right thigh.
Okay.
There's a lot going on. It's when we're down here, it's more just this folded front leg outer hip stretch. But when we start working with the back leg as well, you've still got that going on to some extent, and now you've got all kinds of stretches going on in the back leg and thigh. and hip. Okay. So coming out when you're ready, back if you're not already out, stretching that, forgotten which leg it was, left leg out behind you, just getting the blood back into the knee, maybe taking that down with dog again. So again, that was another one of our peak postures. So we will just close, we'll come down onto our backs again. We've got 10 minutes left, so we can just begin to integrate all of this, but have a block handy. If you've got a yoga brick or a thick book, you could use this. Okay, so because we're going to take the bridge again, and then I'm going to give you an alternative as well to explore a different version of the bridge. So we'll just take a classic bridge now, where we bring the heels into the buttocks, hip distance apart, and lift the hips up. If it's available, there's an invitation. I know I'm giving you some quite kind of tricky invitations this evening. This is quite hard to reach the fingertips around the front of the ankles, because then it's like we're in the bow again, but in a different perspective. We were on the belly. Okay, so if that's available, just find the bind again, holding the front of the ankles. Otherwise, as normal, you just got the palms pressing down, or maybe you're interlacing the fingers, or maybe you're just trying to touch the back of the heels. Find the bind just by touching the heels. Okay, so taking a few more slow, deep breaths in the bridge. Feeling the strength of the quads here and the opening. They're being strengthened and lengthened. And then slowly, when you're ready, come down. And just take a rest for a moment, shrugging the shoulders back and taking the feet forward slightly. And then just have a quick look if you can see the screen. I'm going to give you two options here, because it's going to depend again on your shoulders and various different things, on your wrists as well. So option number one is the kind of more intense version. You're going to come back up to the bridge, and if it's okay, you need to bring the elbows very close in. And if you've got problems with your wrists, this isn't going to be for you probably. You're going to make a platform underneath your back with your hands. So my fingertips are reaching around to the hips, and the heel of my hands are just on either side of the sacrum. So it's like the heel of my hands are creating a platform that my sacrum's resting on. Okay, so we can do this version of the bridge, and you can stay here with the bent legs, but my invitation is one at a time to straighten the legs out and try to keep the toes pointing forward rather than coming onto the little toe edge. So like Purusvattanasana, there's an inward rotation here, and maybe just do one leg at a time. And then maybe if you feel stable, both legs, trying to keep the big toes on the floor. If this is not appropriate for your wrists, you do the same thing on a brick. Remembering bricks have 3 heights. If you're feeling very open and the brick is stable enough, you could do it on the top height. I like to, when I use a brick, also interlace my hands around the brick, so I'm actually holding it in place with my forearms to make it more stable. And then again, one at a time, or maybe 2. But you could also be doing this on the medium or lowest setting. Okay, if you're on the lowest or medium setting, it's unlikely you're going to get your toes to the floor, but just still try to do the inward rotation. Okay, so any of those options, see if you can come to that straight leg version, explore that. If you don't have a block and you can't do the wrist variation, then just take another normal bridge. Just explore. Inward rotation, trying to keep the feet hip distance apart. So try and bring your feet closer together, Miriam, maybe. Yes. Great. And then after 5 breaths or so, again, you just need to bend the knees, press through the feet to lift up off your brick if you're using the brick, and slowly lower or release the back if you've got your hands, and slowly lower the back down. And that's the end of our big quad opener, so we're pleased to know, or maybe not. And slowly lower the spine down, and just find a neutral spine position for a moment. Shrug the shoulders back, take the feet forward, and just maybe take the constructive rest posture here, which really allows the thigh muscles to relax. So for the legs, the important thing here is that the inner knees support each other. So if they don't touch, take a brick between the knees so that the inner knees are resting on something. And this allows these big thigh muscles we've been working with to just let go, relax, and kind of drop away from the bones. So just give the legs a rest for a moment, integrate all that pretty strong work, you know, wherever you got to with all the different variations. It's all big opening postures. So just kind of having a moment of stillness here, letting the heart rate, nervous system settle. And then we can extend the legs up to the ceiling and the arms overhead. Find that downward dog shape on your back. Just open up, flex the feet. And breathe into the back body. And then bend the knees into the chest, bring the hands forward. Find that hugging the knees into the chest shape. Maybe rocking side to side, maybe taking little circles on the sacrum. Just really slowing everything right down. And then I think it's good to have a nice long Shavasana. We've got 5 minutes. If you're ready to go straight into Shavasana, I would recommend that. If you need something else, if you need a little twist, maybe if your back feels a bit stuck, if you just want to do a supine twist, taking your knees over to one side and then the other, then by all means, just listen to your body. Maybe it needs a happy baby after the twist, or straight into Shavasana if you're ready, just to make the most of integration time. So kind of as soon as you're ready, basically, just find your way into Shavasana, because after a class like this, it's important to take that time to be still and integrate. When you're in Shavasana, just check you're centrally aligned, arms away from the side, palms up, feet flopping out to the side now. So now just allow them to externally rotate. And just let go of all effort and just cast your mind back to the start of the class. We started in a version of Shavasana, this kind of lying on the back and yielding, surrendering the body to the floor. Just observe how it feels now compared to the start of the class. Hopefully, there's a real willingness of the body to let go, to give it up. And if not, there's no right or wrong. Just kind of observe this. There's still resistance, or maybe even more resistance. Just observe. As best you can, let go, release, be heavy, surrender. Just allow the body to receive the fruits of this very opening class, actually. Opening areas that are often energetically congested. The quads, I would say, don't get much attention like this unless you do an exercise class focused on the quads. So things can kind of get stagnant and stuck there. Just allowing whatever's moved to just move on through. Let the breath be natural, no breath effort now. Be at peace. Take rest.
always, if you need longer in Shavasana, then just give yourself that gift. Stay longer. You wish to close with me at the end of the class. And just begin to deepen the breath. Begin to move the fingers and the toes and the head. And take any stretches that feel good. Maybe arms overhead, release to chest. And slowly find your way back to seated, maybe via a few breaths on your side. You don't come up too quickly. Lots of people still in Shavasana. Good. Okay, those closing with me, thank you. Namaste. And to you guys still in Shavasana, namaste. Thank you for sharing practice. Hope you enjoyed. If anyone wants the recording, do let me know. And we'll see you soon.